Hi, my name is Elliot and I'm part of the education team here at Kent's Cavern. Over 50,000 artefacts were found in this cave on archaeological digs. And they don't just belong to humans, but animals that lived here as well. The humans at Kent's Cavern used entrances that we use today. They faced east, and when the sun rises in the morning, it would fill the chambers that humans used with natural light. The animals that lived here used entrances that had been blocked off naturally for thousands of years on the other side of the cave system. They were much darker and dingier, and it allowed the animals to wait in the shadows for their prey to walk past before jumping out and grabbing them and dragging them back into the cave. The longest serving residents of this cave were the bears. Two species of them lived here. The first were Ursus deningeri, the ancestral cave bear. They lived here 500,000 years ago, and they used the cave as a place to hibernate, although many of them didn't survive hibernation, either dying from starvation and lack of food, or from hypothermia due to excess water exposure in the cave. Eventually, Ursus deningeri evolved into Ursus spelaeus, the cave bear. They grew much bigger. They'd have stood at about 3 meters tall on their back legs. The bears living in the UK during the Stone Age were mostly herbivores. They didn't turn into omnivores until near the end of the Stone Age. Another animal that lived in this cave were the hyenas. They were much bigger than the hyenas that you see in Africa today, and they were better suited to living in colder climates. They were well adapted for the last ice age. They lived in the cave in packs of up to 30 and went out hunting all together at night when their prey was most vulnerable. This is coprolite, otherwise known as fossilised poo, and it comes from hyenas that lived inside Kent's Cavern. Scientists can analyse coprolite and find pollen traces inside to find out what plants used to live around this cave during the Stone Age. One of the animals that lived outside of the cave were the woolly mammoths. They were too big to fit in here. Some of them would grow to the same size as a double-decker bus. Now, woolly mammoths were perfectly adapted to living in the conditions of the last ice age. They had thick skin, woolly fur, and 2 long curvy tusks that were perfect for sweeping away the snow off the ground to get to the vegetation below. This is one tooth from an adult woolly mammoth. They would have had 2 of these on the top jaw and 2 of them on the bottom, and they were perfect for grinding up the plants that mammoths needed to eat for survival. Another animal that lived outside of the cave were horses. Lots of horse remains were found in this cave, suggesting that they must have been easy prey for the people and animals that lived inside of here. We know that humans were using fat from horse meat mixed with moss to make fires in scallop shells in this cave. To summarise, lots of animals lived in and around this cave during the Stone Age. It was mostly carnivores that lived inside of the cave, but they stayed away from the entrances that humans like to use. Lots of herbivores lived around the cave, and their bones were found in here because they were dragged in by the predatory animals that ate them. There were lots of other animals that lived in and around Kent's Cavern throughout the Stone Age, but these are the only ones that we've had time for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.